Previously, Haruto had beaten the crap out of his biological mother and putted a slave collar on her. Because she was constantly attempting to kill Haruto's adoptive family because Charlotte had the power to usurp the throne if she grew powerful. But Haruto failed Queen's attempt, and after putting a leash on her mother she stayed calm for 5 years. But then Haruto suddenly received a recommendation letter from the Magic Academy because the princess recommended Haruto to the principal. So Haruto and Gold knew right away that the queen was up to something again, but they couldn't openly oppose the royal family, so Haruto decided to enroll in the academy, but unaware of anything. Charlotte thought Haruto was going to a school where the student council bullied everyone, so she came up with a plan to help Haruto secretly, but Liza had already told Haruto everything. So Haruto prepared himself to see something naive and use it to get kicked out of the academy. Episode 8. So, as the story progresses, Haruto chooses Liza to be her attendant while he enrolls in the academy, which broke the heart of our fox demon Flay, but meanwhile, Princess Marianne joyfully arrives to inform her brother Laius that Haruto will arrive in the capital, but Prince Laius already knew about it. So Marianne tells him she recommended Haruto because Laius told her to, so Laius tells her he just wants to know the secret of Haruto's power by attending the same school together. So Marianne was happy that Laius changed after he was defeated by Haruto. So Laius takes payback by reminding her how Marianne stood up to father for Haruto's recommendation and even became shut-in to convince their father to recommend Haruto to the principal. Laius mocks her because it was obvious Marianne was obsessed with Haruto, but Laius tells her he wasn't talking about love, but her reaction made it clear that she did fell for Haruto. So Laius changes the subject to the cultists Marianne has been dealing with, so Marianne tells him it's the Church of Lucifera that secretly worships the demons. And their influence is spreading throughout the kingdom, making them strong enough to overthrow even the monarchy, and the ones who are supporting them are also some rich white nobles. So Laius tells her he heard the rumors that their mother is secretly funding the church. Laius can't understand how she got that slave collar that changed her to be this extreme. And because of that her temper got even worse and she is now on bad terms with their father, the king, and the ones benefiting from it are the church. And if things go in this way, Laius feels that Queen would overthrow the king herself. So Marianne told Laius they could take help from Haruto because only his strength seems to surpasses their imagination. But that reminds Laius that he heard there was a black hero on Margrave's province who was strong enough to beat a dragon himself, and hearing this, the bitch mama comes in. She overheard their entire conversation, but yet, when Marianne greets her, she immediately grabs poor girl from her neck. Because the queen thought Marianne looked at her slave collar and tried to ridicule her with her gaze, but she stops choking her to death and makes up she was just joking. Then she talks to Laius about his enrollment in the academy with Gold's son. She tells him to gather information on that Black Knight from Haruto for her secretly. This bitch was beaten to pulp by Black Hero, and yet she's still up with her schemes. Anyways, she leaves after that threatening request. And Laius felt terrible because he had involved Haruto in a mess, but bro was chilling out on his hideaway house and Charlotte reminds him his time is up and he should get to the capital. But Flay was still begging Haruto to take her, so Charlotte consoles her and reminds their own secret job. Charlotte then wishes Haruto a good luck for his school life. Then he arrived at the capital using a gate and saw a wagon being chased down by a bison that had strayed from its group. So Haruto couldn't ignore them because he has become a hero figure for Charlotte, so he changes into his Black Knight costume, but then the wagon just lost one of its wheels. So Haruto cushions their fall with his barrier, but the bison was approaching them, so Ersphilia stops it with her raw power but gets thrown away. So Haruto steps in before it hurts her any further, but she had already broken her shoulder, so Haruto used his barrier to heal her with barrier, which was mysterious. Because it was an unknown healing magic, then a boy came and praises Haruto, and afterwards he repaired their wagon and Ersphilia thought Haruto wants some kind of a reward. Haruto declined. But Ersphilia wanted to repay him, so Haruto leaves at that and considered returning that bison to its herd, and Ersphilia liked his kind nature. So Haruto brought that bison back from there and gave it something to eat, and then he went on his merry way. After that, Liza seemed bothered by something. So she told Haruto that she felt something strange that made her feel uneasy from Ersphilia, so Haruto decided to stay away from her. Then they arrive at the academy and joins a long waiting line. And after a long time, Haruto fills out a mountain of paper and gets a room in the dormitory, But he returns home feeling homesick to get some rest, he was starving. So Charlotte tells them to have a lunch at the capital, so Haruto makes Flay's ears and tail invisible so that others won't notice that she's demon, and then they entered the capital. Charlotte was content to explore but Liza was a bit nervous, then they had a lunch on a restaurant and Charlotte shows a map of the capital. She thinks it's better to get familiar with the new town if they happens to run into an enemy. There everyone gets separate on 3 directions but Charlotte sticks to Haruto. She considered it to be a date, and Haruto gets into a cloud 9, but he holds himself because and thinks that Charlotte picked that brother complex from anime without knowing it. But he was a shut-in who never had a date from his previous life, so he tagged along with her to explore the capital together, but at noon Charlotte stumbled upon Irsahilia. But when she looked at Haruto she got a feeling of familiarity, so Haruto tells her it's her imagination, but Philia have a feeling that Haruto has a giant mana pool. So Haruto tells her he was only at level 2 so she apologized and leaves, but Charlotte had the same feeling that Liza had, that Philia is not an ordinary girl. So who's the new mysterious girl? Stay tuned to find out in the next episode, but till then subscribe the channel to see some other anime recaps and get update on my new uploads, so take care.